kick things off with Officer Green, a no-nonsense cop tasked with delivering a large sum of cash to a big-shot prisoner named Balam. But Balam isn't your typical inmate. He's living it up behind bars, surrounded by luxury, private guards. A notorious drug kingpin, Balam manages to run his criminal empire from the comfort of his cushy prison cell, dealing in drugs, weapons, and even people. What's even more bizarre is that Balam actually prefers being locked up. It keeps him safe from the numerous assassins constantly gunning for his million-dollar head. The walls of his cell have become his fortress, and he's got everything under control from the inside. As Officer Green makes his delivery, new inmates are being shuffled into the prison, each one getting settled into their assigned cells. Among them is Jack Stone. He's the guy who's been charged with killing a cop during a high-stakes bank robbery. Officer Green isn't a fan of Jack. He's so displeased that he wastes no time landing a punch in Jack's gut. But let's rewind for a moment to understand the full picture. Just a week before, Jack and his crew had pulled off a daring bank robbery. This wasn't just about the money. Jack was after something far more valuable, hard evidence that could expose a massive web of corruption. The evidence implicated shady government officials and dirty cops, all of whom were in cahoots with none other than Balam himself. Jack made a clean getaway with the cash and the intel, but his freedom didn't last long. The cops quickly caught up to him, and things took a deadly turn. Jack's two partners didn't make it, falling victim to a barrage of bullets, but Jack wasn't going down that easily. He fought back with everything he had, taking down several officers before slipping into a nearby building. Just when he thought he was home free, another cop showed up, but this time, things went sideways. Jack revealed a shocking twist. He wasn't just the criminal on the run, he was actually one of them, a fellow cop. The other officer was too stunned to react, and before he could do anything, Jack pushed him off a ledge. The cop didn't survive, but Jack did. After the chaos, Jack didn't waste time. He handed over all the incriminating evidence to a journalist named Tricia Sinclair, asking her to dig deeper and take the findings to the prosecutor's office. But back in the prison, things were heating up. Jack was bunked with a man named Silva, and during lunch, a thug named Semyon, who also happened to be Balam's cousin. Semyon didn't take it kindly. He beat the guy to a pulp. But then, Semyon made a huge mistake. He turned his attention to Jack. Before Semyon could even get a word out, Jack knocked him and his goons to the ground in one smooth move, while Jack simply returned to his lunch, looking completely unfazed. It's clear that Jack Stone isn't someone to be messed with, and his time in prison is going to be anything but boring. Later, Jack is summoned to a room where he finds himself staring at a surveillance camera. A message from Balam pops up on the screen, and the drug kingpin wastes no time in laying down his warning. He tells Jack to stay out of his business and reminds him that Jack's wife's murder is all on him. But Jack? He's unfazed. It's clear that Balam's threats don't scare him in the least. That night, things take a dangerous turn. 3 inmates sneak into Jack's cell, planning to ambush him, but Jack handles them with ease. The fight is over before it even begins, and the best part? Silva, his cellmate, doesn't even stir while Jack takes care of business. Meanwhile, on the outside, Tricia Sinclair is working tirelessly to piece together the evidence Jack had handed over to her. When she heads to the prosecutor's office, she hopes to deliver the files herself, but the prosecutor is conveniently busy. Instead, she's told to leave the documents with Mark Crane, the assistant, hoping to catch the prosecutor in person. A little while later, Tricia meets up with Jack in prison and informs him she's on the case. Jack tells her to stay safe, reminding her to make the most of the intel he provided. As Jack returns to his cell, memories of his late wife flood his mind, fueling his drive to take down Balam once and for all. After the altercation with Semyon, another inmate named William pulls Jack aside and warns him to stay alert, but Jack isn't worried. He shrugs it off, confident that neither Semyon nor Balam can touch him. Jack then begins searching for information on Balam's secretive location within the prison. William tells him something shocking. Not even the guards know for sure where Balam is kept. It's that top secret. Back on the other side of the prison, the story shifts to a women's facility where 2 inmates are locked in a vicious fight. The guards break it up, but one of the women, Elena, is taken away under a hood. As it turns out, she's brought before Balam and a crowd of other prisoners. Balam reveals the ugly truth. Semyon and some other inmates have been skimming profits from Balam's drug sales without his knowledge. Meanwhile, Elena has her own score to settle with one of Balam's trusted allies. Balam, ever the showman, announces a deadly competition. He offers a $10,000 prize to whoever can kill Jack Stone and bring back his severed head. William decides it's time to spill the beans to Jack, warning him that the prisoners are already plotting against him. But thanks to William's support, Jack handles the would-be attackers with ease, sending them running. On the outside, Balam receives a call from District Attorney Johnson, who's got some nerve warning Balam about a journalist who's linked corrupt cops and government officials to Balam's shady operations. Johnson doesn't waste any time either. He passes on Balam's orders to silence the reporter. Meanwhile, Balam vows to deal with Jack before the day is out. Later, while working in the prison's laundry room, Jack is blindsided by a brutal beating from none other than the warden, Warden Blaine. This isn't some random act. Jack is left bruised and battered. And as if that wasn't bad enough, a gang of inmates gathers outside, ready to jump him. But Jack, he's got a plan. He looks at them and calmly says, "If $100,000 gets split between all of you, That's barely $11,000 each. Not worth the trouble. To everyone's surprise, the math makes sense, and the gang backs off, leaving him alone. Meanwhile, Trisha Sinclair is spilling the tea to her friend Allison, giving her all the details about Balam's shady operations and his deep connections with corrupt officials. Over in the women's prison, things are about to get even more intense. Elena, ever the strategist, approaches Kat, one of Balam's most loyal enforcers, under the guise of apologizing on Balam's orders. But don't be fooled, it's all part of Elena's plan. She intentionally provokes Kat, letting her take the upper hand and beat her up. Elena pretends to pass out, playing it up just enough to make the scene convincing. The goal? To get herself sent to the hospital for treatment. Once in the hospital, Elena wastes no time. She waits until the medical staff leaves, then sets her plan in motion. She unshackles herself and quickly grabs some booze and drugs. She hides them in a mop bucket William uses regularly, knowing it'll be the perfect spot. Then she sneaks into the air vents, carefully observing the surveillance cameras scattered around the prison, marking their locations for later use. While Elena is busy executing her plan, Trisha Sinclair pays Jack a visit in prison, updating him on the chaos Balam's crew has been causing on the outside. Just as Trisha wraps up her visit, Elena, now back in her hospital bed, pulls off her great escape without anyone noticing she was ever gone. Back in the prison, Jack is piecing things together. He turns to William and asks him how long he's been undercover. He already knew William wasn't a real prisoner. In fact, William is an FBI agent, deep undercover, gathering intel on the corrupt network of cops in Balam's operations. It turns out that Elena has been working with William for 6 months. As they talk, some inmates decide it's the perfect time to ambush them, leading to a chaotic scuffle. In the aftermath, Jack finds himself thrown into solitary confinement, while William is called to meet with Warden Blaine. Blaine, always looking for a way to line his pockets, threatens William, demanding cash in exchange for protection. It's clear, if William doesn't pay up, he won't last long in the prison. Outside the prison walls, Trisha Sinclair tries once again to meet with DeJohnson. His assistant, Mark Crane, claims the prosecutor is unavailable. Back inside, Balam's daughter makes a surprise visit to the prison, forcing Balam to step out of his cell. This is the opening William and Elena have been waiting for. As Balam steps out, Elena fakes being unconscious, using the opportunity to get closer to her target. When a guard tries to stop her, she and William take him down swiftly and quietly. With the guard neutralized, William makes his way to the control room, while Elena, disguised as a staff member, slips into the CCTV monitoring area. As Balam's daughter unleashes her anger at her father, Elena spots on the cameras that Balam is heading back to his cell. It's go time. Without wasting a second, William unlocks Jack's solitary confinement cell, setting him free. Jack, dressed as a guard to avoid raising suspicion, follows Elena and William's lead, ready for whatever comes next. The pieces are finally falling into place, and it looks like Jack and his allies are about to take the fight to Balam. By now, the warden knows something's seriously wrong. His worst fears are confirmed when he and his team discover the CCTV room has been breached. Chaos quickly erupts throughout the prison. With everything spiraling out of control, William realizes he's out of options. In a last-ditch effort, he opens all the prison doors, releasing the inmates. Complete mayhem breaks loose as prisoners swarm the hallways, attacking each other and the guards. Amid the madness, Jack spots Officer Green, who's desperately trying to make a run for it, but Jack won't let him off that easily. He shoves Green straight into the mob of angry inmates, and the prisoners do what they do best, beat him senseless. Meanwhile, William and Elena are in the thick of it, fighting off attackers from all sides. Despite the chaos, they stay laser-focused on their mission. In the midst of the turmoil, Jack finally reaches Balam, but just as he's about to confront him, Semyon steps into the picture. The two enemies face off once again, and it doesn't take long before Semyon gets the upper hand, stabbing Jack in the stomach. But even that doesn't stop Jack. He digs deep, fighting through the pain, and eventually takes down Semyon, proving once again that he's not one to back down. Meanwhile, outside the prison, Trisha Sinclair is in a life-threatening situation of her own. The prosecutor and Allison have teamed up, planning to kill her and destroy all the evidence she's worked so hard to gather. Just as Allison is about to make her move, a surprising hero steps in. Mark Crane, who's revealed to be an undercover FBI agent, swoops in and saves Trisha. Back inside the prison, William takes matters into his own hands. He confronts and takes down Warden Blaine and his corrupt guards, ending their reign of terror. With the warden out of the picture, Jack finally faces off with Balam in an intense, all-out hand-to-hand battle. Just when it seems like Jack is on the verge of defeat, he thinks about his late wife. The memory gives him the strength to push through, and with one final move, he overpowers Balam, bringing his reign of terror to a decisive end. As the SWAT team rolls in to secure the prison, the chaos slowly begins to settle. William introduces Jack to his FBI boss, who congratulates them both on dismantling Balam's entire operation, both inside and outside the prison walls. It's a huge win for justice. Balam's empire is crumbled, and his network of corruption has been exposed. Jack takes a moment to thank William and Elena for their unwavering support and for helping him finally avenge his wife. In the aftermath, the FBI moves quickly, arresting all the corrupt officials and police officers who had been working with Balam. As for Jack, still in custody, William offers him a fresh start, an opportunity to join the FBI as his partner. Jack doesn't hesitate. He accepts the offer, knowing it's a chance to put his skills to good use and leave the past behind.